of the workshop will be the making the internet greener and more sustainable. So it's a pleasure to be here. It's my first participation in the IGF, and a expector and as a presentation presentator. So it's a pleasure, it's an honor to participate in a huge, both in size and importance, event like IGF. And I like to extend my gratitude to the entire organization for the IGF opportunity to host this workshop and all the support provided throughout the process. And a special thank you to the people of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for hosting us in some good way. All right? And before we start, I'd like to introduce our speakers. They was very helpful and is here today. We have two representatives of technical community. The first one is Eunice Perez Coelho from Mérida, Yucatan, Mexico. She is a electronic engineering, IT management specialist and professor at the Technological Institute of Merida, and Mr. Pedro Câmara, a technical collaborator and network administration at the Coprel Telecom, specializing in high performance network design with a master's in applied computing. And we have two representatives of civil society, Ms. Natalia Salchuk Patricio, a PhD candidate and researcher assistant at Karsua, I think is pronounced that, University of Applied Science in Germany. Germany is difficult to spell. And we have Jeffrey Lanto, a pioneer in the Philippine IT industry, instrumental in the country's first internet connection in 1994, and co-founder of CVIS Net. As we can see, we have brought together a specialists from various fields, ensure diversity, and arranging the workshop with different perspectives. Secondly, I'd like to thank you, my boss, Eduardo Barazal Morales. He is the one of the moderators, and he is the coordinator of training at nick.br. And one of our organizers, Thiago Jun Nakamura, project analyst at nick.br, and my work colleague. And last but not least, our reporter, Natalia de Souza Rufino, member of the Youth Brazil program. Okay, now I'd like to share some slides. Let me share my screen. Let's see. Okay. Everyone can see the slides. All right. So here are the people who I was talking to. And for the beginning, I'd like to introduce our agenda. The first part will be a brief introduction to set the context for our topic. Then I will use a quiz platform to encourage active participation from the audience. I'd like to thank you, all of you who are here with me on site. And we use the quiz, and you ask a question, and the people from here and online you answer with only one word, and this word will guide the discussion and help us identify the most relevant points for the audience. After gathering this answer, our speakers will comment on the policy question. We have three policy questions, and based in the experience and opinion, they will talk about our workshop. We will hold three rounds of this discussion, and finally, we have a open mic session where the audience can ask questions or share comments about the workshop. Here we have the policy questions. The first one, what are the duties of the stakeholders for a greener internet? 2, how do sustainability efforts affect access for new users? And 3, how can we spread awareness and adoption of green standards? Well, I will do my introduction very quickly, and I like to begin with a question. How many aspects of your lives don't involve the internet? So we see the internet has become a intrinsic part of our lives, but this comes with a significant energy cost to operate. And while the term cloud is often used like a magical word, we know that clouds means internet, and internet relies on massive data center that consume a lot of energy and sometimes using a non-renewable sources for this. A aggravating factors as today a significant part of the internet or part of humanity still lacks the internet access, and we see that in the open session that one third of the humanity remains offline. So we need to expand that. And if today internet consumes a lot of energy, if we continue to expand the internet, we will use more resources than we have. So for this problem, there's a concept of green networks that minimize the environmental impact of internet infrastructure while optimize the resources, the use of these resources than we talked about. The goal is to do more with less, using fewer resources without the effective functionality of the internet. So use less resources and still have the internet, still have the performance of the internet. So we can look that in the slides some examples of green initiatives like use the renewable energy in data centers, efficient manufacturing of network components, development of energy efficient protocols, and the dynamic resource scaling. One good initiative that we saw in the last weeks was the Green Work Group, the Gathering for Energy Efficient Network. Is a work group within the ITF, the Internet Engineering Task Force, and this group focuses on improving energy efficient in network technologies, creating frameworks, metrics, creating new protocols or update new protocols, protocols to optimize the energy use in networks. This last meeting of ITF happened last month in Dublin, Ireland, and the discussion was recorded, so you can access the link in the YouTube and watch the session. I think they have like 2 hours of length, but that is an important initiative from the ITF. So, what's the role of the stakeholders playing in this scenario? Collaboration, I think, is the word key for this. So we can address the critical issues like what is the problem and how we can solve this problem. So it's crucial to different stakeholders work together to drive this change. That is the main objective from today's workshop. That's because we invited some different people to talking about this problem and some results or maybe solutions to this problem. So the stakeholders can take like adopted green practices, innovating protocols and hardware, and balance the sustainability with the performance and expansion. Well, what is the goal of the workshop? While we understand that 1 hour is not enough to solve all this problem, we want to raise the awareness about this topic, which may be new to some people, and aim to encourage the collaboration, gather new options from different test sectors on the internet, and ultimately promote actions or create new initiatives from here in the IGF from Riyadh. So For that, we like to you online or on site to share your ideas and solution and collaborate to build a green internet. So this is a very quick introduction, and now we use a quiz platform to get some ideas, and after that we you pass the the floor for our speakers. So let me share the quiz platform. Mm, okay. All right. So I think that everyone is sim. Deve ser o F11 aqui. F5? F5 é para dar refresh. Ah, has a button. All right. So everyone can join the quiz. Just enter in your web browser joinmyquiz.com and put the pin is 410266, and we have three questions, and we ask for you to reply with only one word, and we can make a beautiful word cloud. So everyone on site and online can join the quiz. Oh, we have the Eduardo Barazal Morales join the quiz. So we have 15 participants. I don't know how many we have on Zoom. So I think it's 15 is the number. Pedro Câmara, all right. So I will start the quiz. Let's start the first question. The audience will have 1 minute to answer, so think well. The first question, in one word, what do you consider essential for moving toward a greener internet? We have a great collaboration, sustainability, agreement, money. Money is important. Will is an important thing. And just one word. Power management is two words. Global warming, energy efficient. 7 seconds. All right, time's up. We have a lot of great ideas, but remember, only one word. I see two words together, like city-centric, but all right. And now I like to start with the first policy question, and the speakers can use these words and this question as a base to the presentation. Let me share again the PDF. All right, here is the first police question, and I will start in the alphabetical order. So I like to invite Eunice Perez to talk about this first police question. What are the duties of stakeholders for a greener internet?
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I would like to thank the team for the invitation. The first time I participate in this great forum, and I'm excited to talk about this very important topic, making internet um, greener and more sustainable in my role as academic. I think is an internet collaborative ecosystem. Each stakeholder has a unique vital role. Internet service providers and tech companies need to adopt energy efficient practice. Governments must enforce eco-friendly regulations. Business are expected to align with sustainability standards, and end users can reduce their digital footprint. Academia connects that these efforts, but leading in innovation and education. For example, in the University of Below, I'm doing research of Venus reserve installed on Raspberry Pi, where I analyze the energy consumption for request. Globally, universities integrating sustainable into engineers' curricula, equipment, future leaders with the skills to address environment challenge. Academia also facilitate the partnership, translating cutting-edge research into scalable solutions. Together, I think these efforts ensure we progress forward toward a greener internet.
All right, thank you, Anis. It's a great pleasure to be here with you and for accepting working in our workshop. So I'd like to invite Mr. Jeffrey Lento to talk about this first policy question. What are the duties of stakeholders for a greener internet?
Good evening, everybody. And from us here in the Philippines right now, it's really raining very hard. And I think it's effect of the global warming. So anyway, what are the duties of stakeholders for a greener internet? Uh, First, my role here is that I'm more on connecting the community. I have projects that I've submitted to Lucas together with APNIC that I go directly to the communities and real time scenario on what is happening at the grassroots level. So we are talking about communities that doesn't have internet connection. It doesn't even have electricity. Much worse, they don't even have water. So these are the areas we call them as the GIDA or GDA, the geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas. And these areas are very vulnerable, especially during disaster and climate change. So we're talking about greener internet. We need to go first. Who are the people who are really affected by climate change? So there is one area that we're working with USAID that this school submerge. It's part of another island in the Philippines. It submerged every high tide. So we provided them with a satellite internet. Then I noticed that during high tide, the sea level will go inside the classroom. So it's very funny because it's elevated. No, the schools, the chairs are being elevated, so the students are up to there. So again, duties of stakeholders for me for a greener internet is first we need to look at real scenarios. What are happening? What is happening to the real world right now? So as I mentioned today, that there's a typhoon incoming to the Philippines, and it's very unlikely. Just to give you an idea, we name typhoons by alphabets, letter A to letter Z. for each year. We run out of alphabet. That's why we go back to letter A. So it's more than 24 typhoons that we encountered. So again, greener internet really needs to know more, especially in my opinion, uh, especially the forest degradation is very important, and it's really affecting us here in the islands. So for me, again, the stakeholders, we must know what is happening on real scenario. Thank you very much, Lucas.
Thank you, Jeffrey. It's important to remember the effect in the global warming and people who are directly affected because of that. All right. So I'd like to invite the Miss Natalia Salchuk. Hello, Natalia. Can you hear us?
Yes, hello.
Thank
Just
you
turn
for
on Wikipedia.
participating in our workshop.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to
Uh,
ask you, what are the duties of stakeholders for a greener internet?
okay, thanks for the invitation to participate in this important workshop. Directly greetings for Karlsruhe in Germany. Just to let you know how to spell
I
the name.
tried. I tried to spelling right.
Okay, no problem, no problem. This is very common. But anyways, in your quiz, I put the will, yeah, the that word will, because I think,
I,
but
I,
everything starts with the will, yeah, like that the stakeholders needs to have this common goal to go in direction of a greener internet, yeah. But there is, of course, every stakeholder there, they have their own contributions to this. For example, when we think about network providers, we imagine that they need to implement this in the first way, like to have really like very practical stuff. It's like to have uh, hardware that is energy efficient, and also try to change the way that they use energy, like to more renewable energy, and think about sustainable operations. And this is, of course, has some cost, especially when you are thinking that nowadays we are not using those most of the equipments that we have are already in operation. Some of them are not energy efficient, so to move forward to in this direction to be more efficient, we have some costs. So in this way, and the duty, for example, for governments is to help in some way, like creating policies in this matter, like to help or provide some kind of motivation, incentives to move in this direction, the direction to use better solutions in terms of energy. So maybe governments will need to invest and help companies also to move in this direction, because it's not possible to imagine, especially in some countries that we know, like is the case of Brazil, that has a lot of small um, network providers, if they will not have sufficient budget to invest on that in this moment.
yes.
So, or like our friend told us about communities, yeah, those communities also will need like some help from governments and investments in this direction. They cannot afford this alone, yeah. And uh, how, as end users or consumers, we can also think about our duty on that. Is also like trying to manage our usage from internet, because we know that when we use more things when it's not necessary, of course we are using resources, and this is not about saying that people will not use internet anymore, but maybe be a little bit more aware how what is the impact of this use in the sustainability of the world, as well as we imagine about water, for example. Yeah, when we don't waste water, because we know that this is a resource that impacts our life. And by the way, although internet is not a resource as a water, this impacts also in other kinds of resources that is like water or something like that. So this is something that we have to increase the awareness in the users for that. So this is some of the things that I would like to point out, but there is much more that we could think about the duties of the stakeholders, yeah, in this matter.
Perfect. Thank you, Natalia. And it's funny that you mentioned the ISPs, Internet Service Providers, because the next person, the next speaker is Pedro Câmara, and he is a ISP specialist. So, Pedro, as a professional in the ISP area, what are the duties of the stakeholders for the greener internet?
Okay. The duty of stakeholder for a greener internet involve coordination efforts to reducing environmental impact across the industry. ISPN must prioritize energy efficient operation by optimization data center, adopting greener hardware, and implementing sustainable practices like equipment recycling and renewable energy adaptation. Governance and regulator play a key role by enacting policy that promote sustainability, providing incentives for using renewable energy, and setting benchmarks for energy efficiency. Equipment manufacturers need to design eco-friendly hardware with lower energy consumption, longer lifespan, and recyclable materials. Meanwhile, businesses and consumers should adopt sustainable usage habits such reducing unnecessary traffic and responsibly recycle devices. Collaboration across all these groups is essential to build a greener, more sustainable internet.
Thank you, Pedro. Let's get the next question in our word cloud. Let me go it out from the Zoom and share the quiz. All right. And now the quiz. Oh, what is the quiz? Here. So, next question. Remember, one word. In your opinion, what is the biggest challenge for sustainable internet infrastructure? We're talking about the duties of stakeholders. Now, what is the biggest challenge to sustainable internet infrastructure? Once again, we have money, fuel, all right, disparity, cost, regulation, relevance. Oh, now it's much better with only one word. And 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1. So we have a lot of interesting words like policies, regulation, government, disparity, obsolescence is important, money, cost, full, power, energy, scale, standards, and relevance. So now I will do the invert order. I will start with Pedro. So let's get the next policy question. Let me share. The next policy question is, how do sustainability efforts affect access for new users? As you, Pedro, is a ESP, so what do you want? What do you think about that? How does affect the new users, like new users in your ESP? How this affected?
Okay. Sustainability efforts can positively and negatively impact access for new user, depending how how they're implemented. On one hand, optimization, energy usage, and infrastructure can lower operation cost for ISPN, potentially reducing service cost and making internet access more affordable. Efforts to extend the life cycle of device through, through recycle can also create more affordable options for users in underserved areas. However, there can be challenges such as initial cost of transitions to greener technology, which might lead to higher prices or slower expansion into new region. To ensure sustainability doesn't hinder access, stakeholders must balance green initiativity with affordability, prioritize scalable solution, and promotion partnership that expanded sustainable connectivity to underconnected areas.
Thank you, Pedro. And one important thing that I want to highlight is the use of IPv6. And IPv6 wasn't designed to sustainability, but when we use the IPv6 and reduce the use of CGNet, for example, in a internet service provider, the cost in the consumption of energy is lower. So you are saving money and saving the the use of energy. So IPv6 is not the the main idea of IPv6 is not be a green protocol, but we with the use, the consequence is less use of energy, and this is good for the environmental. So now I like to ask to Natalia, with your years of experience, what is the your thoughts about the how do you sustainability efforts affect access for new users?
Okay. First of all, I would uh, agree very much with with Pedro was telling about the positive and negative aspects. I think he put very well. This that we have a kind of trade-off between sustainability and the affordability of the internet infrastructure, especially when we are talking about developing countries, such as in the South Global, yeah, like Brazil and Africa and other countries like that. Because if in the beginning, implementing those new devices with sustainable or energy efficient uh, devices would raise the costs because we have to change whatever we are using now for these new devices, and this will cost money for sure. And this will come from needs to come from somewhere. Yeah, and this is something that is a kind of a, a difficult trade-off because we know that in long term these costs will be paid by having like less consumption of energy and also to affect less the world in general. But in the beginning, it's very difficult because we have to change this. And we know that this is something that a lot of companies, and especially the smallest ones, will be very much impacted by that because they don't have so much money in hand to invest on that, or such as also communities that they are doing like their own networks for communities. um, they don't have this money so easily and to do this. And nowadays, yet this kind of devices are kind of not so much available everywhere. So we can see, for example, in Europe, they have scales of energy efficient for various devices, and the people try or tend to buy the ones more efficient. But until you change the whole ecosystem, this will take very long time for that. So summarize the influences, I think it's that's in the long term it's good for the whole society because we need a more sustainable world. It's like about surviving in this world. But in the negative aspect is that in the maybe would increase the barriers to these new users, especially in low income regions. So that's my view about that.
Thank you, Natalia. And I like to moving on Jeffrey. And considering the project that you work and you mentioned early, I believe you have some very fascinating opinions about the access for new users. So Jeffrey, how do sustainability efforts affect the access for these new users?
Yes, Lucas, this is very appropriate right now. One word that I can answer on policy question number two. It's empowerment. Empowerment is very important to the communities. First and foremost, uh, nothing bad against the ISPs. They will never set up an infrastructure where there's no return of investment, right? So we have some 8 pilot areas right now working with the Philippine government and a group called unconnected.org that provides satellite connection to underserved areas. As I mentioned, that even though it is there's a project that we call as islet, just like a small island, it's the Internet for Sustainable Livelihood, Education, and Tourism. So it's an empowerment of the communities that they will be able first to operate, sustain, and generate funds from the communities. So technology is given that there's the technology, and again, how do you sustain the internet connection on the community level? So we're talking about residents who really doesn't have the 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 smartphones, they don't have the laptop. Let me give you an example on an island with a population about 1,200 people. It's a small island. They don't have water. They don't have electricity. When we provided them with the first internet connection, a broadband connection on their island, we never expected that the people were so happy. When there was already internet connection, it pump primes different opportunities. A month later, we noticed that there was already a coin-operated internet in which the residents will put coins for how many minutes of internet connection. So innovation, again, it develops into some kind of fruit bearing. Then all of a sudden, one of the communities and the house, he bought a smartphone, I mean a smart TV. Then he operated a community-based movie theater. Then they subscribed to Netflix. So those are the things that really need to be focused, especially for countries like the Philippines. The Philippines, if you take note that it is one of the most expensive internet connection around the world and also the slowest. It's because there's a only two big telecommunications can run internet. And again, it's very timely, as I mentioned to you, Lucas, because tomorrow the Senate already have a new bill to cut off this kind of monopoly or duopoly that we call it. So tomorrow there's a Senate, and we are also one of the strong promoter that this bill will be uh, passed so that other players, just like CBSNet Foundation that I started way back in 1994, we used to be a internet service provider. But when business comes in, it becomes like they call it a duopoly. Only the giant telecoms are running it. I'm not saying it's bad, but it never really trickles down to the community. For the past 30 years, from the start of the internet in the Philippines, I was there. I was uh, teaching people how to use the internet. Until now, 30 years later, I'm still doing that and working to unconnected islands. So it's really my passion, you know. So again, going back to policy question, it's really empowerment. You need to put the people in charge so that they can operate it by themselves. So thank you. That's my point, Lucas.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey. And the last one, Eunice, what is your perspective to how the sustainability efforts affect access for new users?
Thanks, Lucas. Um, I want to start to say I am agree with my colleagues. Moving towards a sustainable internet infrastructure is not without challenge. First, there's the issues of resource disparities, particularly in regions like Latin America, where the rural and underserved communities struggle to access basic connectivity, let alone eco-friendly solutions. I think another is the lack of the global consensus of green internet standards. It could be create fragmentation and delaying progress and limit knowledge and expertise in implementing sustainable technologies for the complicated this effort. And this challenge directly influence access. Sustainable infrastructure can be costly, um, potential, potentially delaying the connection of new users and widening the digital divide. Um, I think in the academy, must, must step up and not just with innovative researches, but also through direct engagement with affected communities by maybe conducting regional studies and involving on local voices. We can ensure solution and could be our inclusive and effective. Movie is complex. Talking about the movie towards sustainability and in Latin America. For the diverse geographic make, it's hard to ensure eco-friendly connectivity everywhere. Academia can help, I think, by designing a cost-effective solution and involve communities in decision making. Um, Maybe I could say an example. A partnership between universities, observation, and rural cooperatives in Mexico, and has shown how academia can bring practical insight to underserved areas. And I think one of the challenges, the cause, how all my colleagues say. It's all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for the insights, Anisi. We have little time, so we have to rush a little bit. And now we will do the last question to the audience. Let me share the quiz. And now the last question. What do you believe is essential for promoting green practices in internet infrastructure? Training, education, mood stakeholderism, knowledge, money. Money always show in the answers. Responsibility, partnership, studies, collaboration, time's up. So this is our words. And now I will pass for the next policy question. And because we have a tight time now, I would like to ask for our speakers to be very briefly, like 1 minute, to answer this the policy question, if possible. How can we spread awareness adoption of green standards? And I will begin with Eunice. In your opinion, as a professor and working in energy monitoring projects, what is the best way to spread awareness and adoption of green standards?
No,
Yes, we can hear it.
I I don't hear Lucas. Is for me. I start.
Yes, yes,
Sorry. Okay. Well, in 1 minute, I
yes. Very briefly.
maybe the strategies I think is education principally, maybe course and public campaigns, and another in collaborations. Okay, I say three: education, collaboration, and incentives. And these three strategic must be um, create these adaptations. And I think the road to greener requires all of this. Academia can lead awareness campaigns, and collaboration among the stakeholder is the key to the overcoming regional challenge. And we must also provide practical incentives, such as subsidies for adopting sustainable practice and certifications, maybe for meeting a green benchmark. I could say a lot, but I'm let to
Yes, one
all
minute
my
is
colleagues.
1 minute is hard.
Sorry. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Anisi. Now, let's hear about this with Natalia. As a researcher, how do you think we can give more spread for our awareness and adoption of good standards? 1 minute.
Wow, 1 minute. I
Yes.
think, wow, this is difficult. I think education campaigns is one thing that is important, but also we have to make some kind of incentives programs, especially from the by the government side to promote this among companies and also the community. And also standards, certifications, this kind of stuff all can help like to go in this direction. This is my 1 minute.
Well, thank you. Now, Jeffrey, 1 minute. How can we spread
Yes.
awareness and adoption of green standards?
Yeah, I think we can spread awareness by involving the communities, giving them ownership of what the adoption of green standards is. So first, it's very important that this will really trickle down to the people who are affected by the green standards. And again, going back, green standards really address the the future of, especially on climate change. So again, awareness, and especially for the ownership of the community, that they need to have it run and be able to sustain those kind of not only the technology but also the real system, the infrastructure, and how it is being brought to the community level.
Thank you,
That's it, Lopez.
Thank you, Jeffrey. And finally, Pedro, how can we spread awareness and adoption green standard very quickly? 1 minute.
Okay. Spreading already and adaptation, adoption of green standards require collaboration, education, and green initiatives. Stakeholders like ISPN, governance, and organization must lead by example, implementing green practices and sharing social star to demonstrate the benefits. Pub- Public already com- camping campaigns can highlight the importance of sustainable internet practices targeting both business and customers. Governments and industry bodies can establish certification and recognition, recognition program for green compliance, encouraging widespread adoption. Training program for IT professionals can ensure that green standards are understood and applied in network design and operation. Lastly, fostering, fostering partnership between stakeholders such as ISPN and environment organization can amplify outreach, outreach efforts and make green standards a shared priority across the industry.
Thank you, Pedro. And I appreciated a lot of the the speakers, and the time passed fast, but it was a pleasure to be here to share the table with all these professional. I think that we can learn a lot of about the infrastructure, the green standards, and I want to continue this conversation in a email or in another opportunity. And I like to invite Thiago to provide a very quick closing remarks. And thank you all. Apologize for the rush in the end, and for any nervous. Was my first time, and I'm very grateful to share the table with some special members of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucas. As we come to the close of this workshop, I want to take a moment to express my heartfelt thanks to all of you. To our incredible speakers, thank you for sharing your expertise, your insights, and your time. Your contributions have sparked meaningful discussions and left us with valuable knowledge to carry forward. And to our audience, thank you for your participation. Your presence here today reflects a commitment to growth and learning. It is what makes the events like this truly impactful. This workshop is a testament to what we can achieve when knowledge is shared and connections are made. Let's take the ideas we explored today and continue to collaborate and innovate together. It is clear that further multi-stakeholder discussions are needed towards green networks. And we hope that everyone here participate on this journey during development over the next years. Thank you all, and we look forward to seeing you at the future workshops here.
Thank you, Thiago. And we have 3 minutes. If anyone here in the audience can make a statement or a comment. What is your name and where are you from?
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Jimson Olufuye from Africa ICT Alliance, Abuja, Nigeria. I work as a consultant. We're into data center digitalization. It's a great workshop, excellent. But I just have one comment to make that could fast track the process of using green. If you look at the example of how IPv6 has been adopted, maybe in France, they brought about smart regulation. So they required ISPs, new ISP to deploy, to use IPv6 by so period. So in the same way, our regulators can easily fast track the process. If it's smart regulation, they'll say, if you are deploying new equipment, you need to have this green equipment and so and so on. Give them a timeline. That will help a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. I like when people talk about IPv6. Always a pleasure. Anyone from the audience want to talk? All right. Where are you from? What's your name?
Thank you. My name is Mariana. I'm from Brazil. I had a question or maybe some suggestion. I guess that sustainability is a theme and the concern of the decade and the influence of the digital era on energy consumption needs to be considered. And when we are talking about the infrastructure of the internet, it's interesting to consider that in a broad way. I mean, we are talking about the infrastructure of the internet to have all the data transporting through the counting for another counting, but we need a challenge. Okay, I have problem with the audio, but it's interesting to address our consumption, to maintain, to treat, and to share all the data that we are using now with the AI models, or we have the powerful computational power too. And what I want to know is, when we are using here the greener internet, we are just talking about the infrastructure as are the providers, or we are addressing all these meaningful ecosystem.
Thank you. And I like to thank you all the speakers once again, the members here in the table and the audience. And I have to close because we don't have much time. Thank you all, and we see you on another opportunity in the future. Bye.